Welcome to another edition of TM3Impact. My name is Tomas Martinez, and I am excited. I have a couple here that you need to know. If you don't know them, something is wrong. But first, we need to thank our sponsors. We need to thank Luxury Home Magazine. Thank you for being a sponsor of Luxury Home Magazine. It's pretty awesome. And we need to thank Spanish Grove Academy, the #1 Spanish immersion pre-K in SA. So today, who do I have? I am honored to have Orlando and Aquila Mendez Valdez. Thank you for being on TM3 Impact.
Yeah, we're excited. Thank you for having us.
Yes, well, I'm really glad you guys are here. We were doing our Ron Burgundy, earlier.
Unique New York.
Unique New York. We were practicing. We were getting ready, and I love that. But here's the thing. This is how we always start off the show, and I'm gonna start off with you, Orlando. Tell us your San Antonio story, Cliff Note version. How did you come about being in this amazing city?
I'm a first-generation Mexican-American. My parents came from Mexico on to San Antonio. Was born and raised on the west side of San Antonio. Went to Lanier High School, played basketball there. Was fortunate enough to have a lot of success on the court. Ended up going to a prep school, Christian prep school in North Carolina, and then from there went on to university, and it's pretty much the foundation of my story. Yeah,
and you eventually came back to San Antonio.
I did.
You eventually ended up coming back to San Antonio, but we got to stay real quick. I did a little research. Most people don't know is that you were Player of the Year.
I was
in San Antonio.
Yes.
What year was that?
2004.
That's awesome, man. 2004 Player of the Year for the city of San Antonio.
That's right.
That's stinking cool, Orlando.
It is.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And then in 2009, they go, we need to retire his jersey.
Yeah.
How cool was that? What kind of experience was that?
I mean, it's, I like to think of it, it's kind of breaking barriers for a lot of those kids in that area. They see me as kind of a role model, see that accomplishment happen, and it's something that you want to be able to leave behind individually. Like myself, it's like a legacy. My kids come back and take pictures with it or be there, and it's just this moment of pride. But more than anything, it's just to show the kids around my area that it could be done.
With hard work, a lot of hard work. I'm sure you got to be a gym rat, I would imagine.
I was.
Especially if you're not. By the way, you gotta follow Orlando on Instagram. You have to follow him on Instagram. I love following your stories on Instagram. Now we get to college because we're gonna go there because now that's where you two, Aquila, that's where you guys meet. Mm-hmm. But I need to know, Aquila. We got to go back. I want to know kind of your story, how you got to the point where you were both at the same university.
Right. Yeah. So I grew up probably the exact opposite childhood of Orlando. I grew up in the cornfields of Indiana and grew up playing volleyball, loved volleyball from the get-go. My mom was a Big Ten All-American at Purdue, and so that was kind of always in my, genetics just to play the sport. So ended up being fortunate as well to get a college scholarship to play at Western Kentucky and met this cute little boy there when I actually was on my recruiting incoming freshman trip. Was when I met Orlando. So I was just a doe-eyed little.
Wait, time out. Was he out waiting outside the buses just watching? Is that what's going on, Orlando?
He was scouting. He was scouting which freshman am I gonna?
Check.
Oh, that's hilarious. So you were coming in for recruiting. You were just there. You were kind of around, and you saw them coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There you go.
Well, the volleyball team set up all the freshman incoming recruits. Let's go hang out with the basketball boys. And he was already a freshman. He was going to be a sophomore that fall.
And you were coming in as a freshman.
Right.
Okay, got it. I want to go back now. Mom's a college athlete, right? Was a college athlete. Dad, was he sports?
Yeah, he was a big football guy. My parents met playing volleyball just in summer leagues. But he was pretty athletic too. Didn't go to college to play sports, but they always kind of had us growing up in the gym too.
Yeah, always playing. So going back, I would imagine, mom, college, right? A college athlete, went to, where did she go? Purdue? Okay. Just an amazing university. What were some of the things that you heard growing up? I would imagine there were some things that you heard growing up that was like, Whoa, she's been through it.
Yeah. Well, she, my mom, to her credit, was always extremely modest, like almost to a fault. She never talked about her playing. I think she never wanted us to feel the pressure of like living up to what she had done. But we would hear from other people. People would come up to us and, oh, you're Mary Ann Smith's daughter, aren't you? And, we didn't really understand what that meant. But I remember her being inducted into the Hall of Fame at Purdue when I was growing up. And that was kind of a moment where I was like, I think my mom's kind of a big deal. Like grand scheme of things, volleyball doesn't get as much attention as other sports. But for what she was able to accomplish, back then for her day, I mean, that was huge for women, for, athletics and everything that she kind of broke some barriers of her own a little bit. Yeah.
How cool. How old were you when you saw her get inducted into the Hall of Fame? How old were you?
I think I was maybe like 6th grade, somewhere around there.
That would stick.
Yeah, formative years for sure. It was cool to see that and to see how she handled the attention and how she kind of, let us be our own people and decide what we wanted to do. But she also pushed us pretty hard. Whatever we were going to decide was our passion. She was going to make sure to be right behind us.
You had to be all in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now go back, because the level of success that you had in high school, the level of success that you had coming up, getting to the point of getting your scholarship, right? What was the motivating factor for you, parent-wise, mom, dad? What was the motivating factor, Orlando?
Well, a little bit to touch on Aquila. My upbringing was different. I had no expectations of anything, any sort. My mom was a single parent, lived in the projects there. They were called Alazanes at the time. Basketball was just one of those things that it was feasible. It was just about any block you can go to and play with random strangers and friends. So it was kind of a tool to escape the environment I was living in. It's just like a whole different ball game when we speak of childhood. But the important factor for me, where everything just changed, was in middle school when I met Abel Valdez, which is my father figure now. Well, my father, I call him father. That's where Valdez comes from.
Okay.
So he was a PE middle school coach, and he was the coach for B team. Mm-hmm. At that time, I was kind of on the fork in the road where either I can go this direction or this, and he was that factor that kind of saved my life along with basketball. Mm. So that was a crucial moment, in 6th to 7th grade. Having kids now, you can see middle school is just tough in general. I think God sent him in my path for a reason, and I owe him a lot.
That's awesome. Abel Valdez. Well, shout out to Abel Valdez, because look at what came from that, right? Like, and just to see, and you look up Orlando's Wikipedia, and you're like, okay, like Abel Valdez, that's a massive impact, man.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. And it's still someone you talk to today?
Oh yeah, he's my father. He's
the girls' grandpa. Yep. He's absolutely
he's
like our family. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. Okay, so we're now at Western Kentucky University. You've already scoped out all the freshmen that are coming in. He's been waiting outside the bus just watching. Now, when you heard her name, Aquila, were you kind of like, is that really your name? Did you did you stop and pause for at least a second?
At first, I thought it was a beautiful name.
It's beautiful. Yes,
it's so unique. That was like one thing that came to mind, and then the second was like, man, how do you spell that?
Me too. Yes. So go back. Where did the name come from? So that everybody knows.
Yeah. Well, it's actually from the Bible. It's a really small part in Acts, and it's pronounced, usually people say Aquila and Priscilla.
Yes.
And so my parents wanted a biblical name that was different, and so they thought, okay, Aquila is a little more of a feminine pronunciation, but they wanted something different. I'm pretty sure that's the first person to ever be named Aquila in Indiana. Like, they definitely went out on a limb there.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely, throws people off all the time. I've heard it all.
I'm sure. I love it though. I think it's a beautiful name. So now y'all meet. I want to hear your story first. How did y'all meet, Orlando?
Well, it was an unofficial visit. She came and
Okay.
we had that party. And then I was just trying super hard to show off in front of her.
Oh, snap.
Super hard.
What were you doing? One-handed push-ups? What were you
I was
doing?
doing handstands. I was actually doing
Literally.
No, you were not. Are you
Yes.
serious?
I was doing
At the
just
pool
about
doing
everything.
handstands trying to show off.
And then
That's so awesome.
I just want to leave pretty much a mark. So when she was going to come back, she'll remember me, and
Yeah.
we could kind of like leave it off then.
Yeah,
and
you're
just
like,
catch up.
I was a dude doing the handstands.
Yeah, it's like,
you
you don't
don't
remember me?
you don't remember that?
What? Those romantic handstands? You don't
That
remember
is
that?
so funny.
That's
Now
funny.
wait, y'all have two beautiful children, and I love, again, if you are not following Aquila on Instagram, you have to. Your daughters are amazing.
Thank you.
Do they know these stories? Have y'all talked to them about some of these stories?
They know
know
we
pretty
met
much.
in college.
Yeah.
I don't know if they know.
They don't know the
full-
handstand story.
No, not the.
You got to
not the
tell them
details.
tonight the handstand
Yeah,
story.
maybe.
I love
We
it.
should.
All right, so you guys meet, first date. What happened? Who asked who?
That's a funny story.
I love it.
So we're gonna go out to eat, and then go watch a movie. At the time, I didn't have a car. I'm still. So she has a car. She has an allowance. I was like, what? So.
Oh,
we're gonna
two
go on
different worlds. I love it.
It's two different
I
worlds.
love it.
Yep.
So we're gonna go on this date, and she's driving, and I like to say that she just kind of got memorized in my eyes and wasn't watching, and we rear end.
Oh no,
Like
Got in
a-
an accident. Our
Oh,
first
no.
date. First date. Totaled.
because
her
she was
car.
driving. Yeah.
Totaled my car. Totaled my little Jeep Liberty.
Oh wow.
Sad
And
day.
she was just crying, going stories. She was just kind of like, you don't understand my mom. She's gonna.
Speaking of a strong mom,
you don't understand. I'm
figure.
like, wait, hold on. Like,
She's
I
gonna
think
kill me.
she's gonna care if you're important. I'm important. You're okay. You're gonna be
Yes.
fine. I was just trying to calm her down, and man, she after that story, after we started talking more about her family, I was like, man, I'm kind of scared to meet her mom. But
it was almost like that experience like bonded us together though. Like
Yeah.
to your first date go through something that like extreme, and he saw me like total in a meltdown phase. And
Yeah.
then I remember later on that night too, one of his friends came back in the like dorm room and was like, hey, are you guys all right? Well, we were like laughing and talking at that point, and
Yeah.
I literally to this day can remember the moment thinking like, if this guy can make me feel so like so stable and normal and okay after such a horrible day. And I like, because when he said that, are you guys okay? I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, we got in an accident today. But he had completely taken my mind off of it. And I think that was a like light bulb moment for me. Like, this guy is special. He's like really, has some long-term potential here.
That's right. Those handstands paid off.
Yeah. And he's great at handstands.
That's
Like,
right.
I gotta
That's
lock
right.
this down.
That's awesome. So you guys date for how long? Y'all were dating all throughout college?
yeah,
All college,
All
yeah.
college.
Got married. I graduated so he graduated the year before me and played his first year professional.
Okay.
And then I graduated the following May, and we got married in June.
Oh wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Get married in June, and then is that when you decide to move to San Antonio? At what point did you decide to come to San Antonio?
Well, so Orlando started his professional career right out of college
Okay.
playing in Jalapa in Mexico.
Okay.
And so San Antonio's always been home base, but really for the first, 6 or 7 years of our marriage, we were back and forth between his basketball season, and then we would come back to San Antonio every off season.
Ah, gotcha.
So
Okay.
I think we got married in June, moved all our stuff to San Antonio, but then we left for Jalapa in like July or August
Okay.
to live for the season.
Okay.
So it was kind of hit the ground running right from the get-go.
Nice. Nice. And so during that time, I know you worked at an ad agency right here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
You were pursuing professional, and I remember at one point, weren't you all living in Israel?
yeah, we did 10 months there, a whole season.
I remember that.
and
What
Haifa.
was that like? I mean, because you took your kids were there with you.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was incredible. I think it was one of those things as well that just bonded us and got us closer together as a family in general.
Yeah.
But, the country itself was amazing. The food was great. The people.
Yeah, it was definitely a whole culture shock because we had played every other year. He had played in Mexico. So, you can people speak English, people spoke English in Israel too. But if you ran into somebody who only spoke Hebrew, we were screwed. Like we couldn't get around at all. So we picked up a little bit, but it was definitely, leaned on each other and leaned on, our family to kind of be there for us, even though we were all the way across the ocean. And, it was a challenge.
I remember us having a discussion about our oldest, Cora, that she's now 7, was we're going to put her in school. And we're like, should we go the private route or should we do a public all Hebrew speaking school? And it was just kind of one of those things as parents, like we always come back. I think our values are similar in the core sense. We ended up putting her in a public speaking Hebrew school, and I remember her writing this post of just how nervous, and she was crying when we got back to the place, and she was just so scared. But Cora thrived. I mean, she loved it, and she started picking up Hebrew, and she started being able to order for us in restaurants. And,
wow.
Those are the little things like that for me is like, man, money came by and experiences like that.
That's true. That's very, very true. Okay, so now, professional athlete, you've been doing this now for 10 years, though.
Yeah, 10, going 11.
Going into your
11th season? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think about this from, when you have a professional athlete into like entrepreneurship, running a business. I mean, literally, your body is your business, right? Like you have to take care of yourself so well. And I would imagine that I mean, how do you mentally? Because, I mean, that's a long time to play professional sports, right? Because when you get beyond 10 years, it's hard. What is motivating you at this point in your life?
This point in my life, I think it's my time with my kids. I think that this is that path that obviously I still have huge passion for it, and I'm competitive. But I think this is kind of the path that's going to give us that financial freedom. Where, if Cora has swim practice like this morning, I'm going to be there for her. She has a game here or there, or she has a piano recital. I mean, just being able to be there for those moments, I think for me, that's how you measure success. Before, I didn't know what that was. I didn't know money. You think that success is this path, but I think it's internally what you think of it. And I think for me and for Aquila is being able to be there for our kids at the most important moments of their lives.
I love that. And then Aquila, you started OAT in Texas, which is an agency, social media agency. How would you describe it?
So we started actually when I first, kind of realized we're going to be moving to San Antonio and Texas in general. I started it as just a blog to really kind of get my name out there, connect with the, community I was moving to. And that's how I actually landed my first internship and then turned into a job with a PR agency downtown. And I, worked for that agency while kind of running my blog on the side for about four or 5 years, and then got to the point where, you kind of started to get that itch where you feel like, okay, I happened to be expecting Isa, our second daughter, and wanted a little bit more flexibility, that financial freedom that he was talking about, and felt like it's kind of time for me to do my own thing. If I'm going to be working this hard and be away from my kids, I want to be doing it because I'm building my own brand and my own name versus somebody else's company. So that's been now 5 years since I went off on my own. And now the blog is, kind of there as a creative outlet. But the agency is really where we've kind of exploded in growth and seen, our client roster. And really, I mean, honestly, you and Christina were one of the very first, if not the first, to give me a shot.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because I was still super pregnant with Issa.
Oh my goodness!
Remember
the
that?
Summit, the luxury real estate summit.
Yes, that was
Yes.
like the first time somebody took a chance on me. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of had things lined up, to start off, but you guys were the first ones to really kind of like say, we're going to take a chance on you.
Yeah.
And I, will forever be grateful to you guys for that. Cause it just, when you're building a client list, it's all about that kind of stepping stones and building what you can from the first opportunity. And you guys were that for me. So
yeah, I thoroughly remember walking around the Tobin Center, and here's Aquila, 6 foot, and I mean, you were
Massively
pregnant. And I mean, didn't skip a beat, as you know this about your wife. Didn't skip a beat. Was running, making things happen. Okay, Tomas, we need an interview. Come back here. We got a news station and let's talk to you. I mean, didn't skip a beat. It was amazing.
Oh,
but see that. What's really interesting is, so that turned into, you have your professional career, you have your business starting to take off, and then you start investing. Tell me where that came into all of this.
So my second year playing professionally, I hurt my knee pretty bad, tore my meniscus, needed surgery, and it was just kind of one of those moments. It was like, what do people with money do, And I started researching, and it was kind of one of those things like, man, if I can't pick up this basketball and continue to play this sport, like, where is my income going to come from? And one of my biggest things that I strongly dislike is when people always want to throw out like, oh, you should invest that money. You should invest that money. And, you kind of just want to be blunt and be like, well, show me how. Tell me what do I need to do? Mm-hmm. And no one ever has the answers, or the people that I was surrounded with. And then I started looking into real estate. I think I thought it was one of those. I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first. I think it came from Aquila's father that handed me that book.
He gave you the book?
He gave me the book, and I read it, and it just changed my perspective on everything. And then from there, we just started buying hold. I like the longevity of things. Like, I like the wealth for a long period of time, and that's kind of where I wanted to go to. I didn't like the whole flipping. There's different avenues you can go in real estate, mm-hmm. and I think that was just for me, and it made sense for our situation. So we're going on about 9 years that we start investing in properties here in San Antonio, and just recently about to own our first place in Mexico City.
Wow.
Yeah. So
is it a rental? Like a rental?
Well. I don't know. I could disclose this yet, but
oh, maybe not. That's okay. Yeah, we can tell us another time. But
I'll live. Okay. I haven't signed a contract yet for who I'm going to play for.
Got it.
Just pretty much going into.
Got it. Understand. Totally understand. Yeah. Well, that's it. Now, I always think it's interesting too, because whenever you get to a point where I'm just thinking, you read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Did you get to read this one too? Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No, I just get to benefit from him reading it.
Yeah, it's such a good book. Like, I went back to it just recently, and I was rereading this book, and I was just like, this is so good, right? Like, it's one of those books where you read it and you just kind of go, this makes so much sense. But now, here's my question to you. Is it now that you're on the other side, you've read the book and you've acted upon it? Because look, there are a lot, I've read a lot of books, but there are some books that I have not acted upon, right? Or, really applied. You applied it. I want to know, what was it like when you did your first deal? Do you remember your first deal?
Yeah, it was a ball of all emotions. It was scary. It was a sense of joy and pride. We had our kids there, like, took pictures with them in the living room, had them crawling. But it was scary. It was just like, this Aquila's depending on me. I did my research, and we're putting ourselves in something that I actually know what I'm doing or what I'm saying or I'm talking about. So it was neat to actually see it all play out throughout the process, though. It worked out for us at the end. But I think that was the emotions that I had. First deal.
You remember it, Aquila, the first deal?
Yeah, it was a lot of, I think, trust involved to kind of feel like, because we were straight out of college. We hadn't had, any example of what this looked like from either of our families as far as real estate investments. My dad was an entrepreneur and small business owner running a family farm, but as much as he's invested in, land, he hasn't necessarily looked at properties, and he doesn't know the San Antonio market. And Orlando did all of that research to kind of feel good about it. But yeah, in hindsight, we probably should have been way more aggressive than what we were.
Right?
Yes, during the time.
What do you mean by, what do you mean by that?
Well,
Tell me.
we started our first properties buying in like the tail end of the recession, just as things were kind of super. We could have been buying up stuff left and right.
I was conservative with my capital pretty much, and I didn't know all these different ways of funding and different loans, and I knowing now all the information we had, I would have gone all in at that time.
Interesting.
I would have gone all in.
Lessons learned for sure.
Yeah.
It was scary at the time. It was just really scary to put our cash into it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So you just don't know.
And so now on the other side, how many properties you think total?
So
ballpark.
We're pending on one here in San Antonio now.
Okay.
In Mexico City. I think that would give us close to 15 doors.
Yeah.
15 doors.
That's so stinking awesome.
Yeah, so it's been neat.
That's really congratulations to both of you.
Yeah, well, and really Orlando's done 90% of the work.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it all part-time.
Right. Right.
It's just his thing to do when he's not playing basketball. So I think I'm excited to see, in the future when he does retire, if we do that full time, how he'll just, scale.
You see, the female's mind, how it works.
I heard it.
She's trying to stroke my ego a little bit. And then she's like,
right.
transitioning.
And then she dropped that R word. She said something about that R word. I heard that R word.
I'm personally excited to see what will happen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Those tricks.
All right, so now you're in San Antonio. You guys are doing awesome things, and I want to talk about the basketball camp because I know that you've done the basketball camp in the past, and it was something I was passionate. I know you had mentioned it to me. Tell me about how's that going? Where does that stand? How can people help with that?
Well, I did it 1 year.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it. Had a lot of support. I haven't done it since because that summer I wasn't playing with the national team.
Okay.
And then after that, I rejoined the national team for the World Cup. And so my schedule was just I was in and out of San Antonio or the country itself. Yeah. So I can't really find that time. And, when I'm done with my season, I want to just be able to come home, be with my kids and my family that,
right.
I've been missing that whole time. And it's hard to commit to something that's going to take that time away from my family.
Right.
So I haven't done it since, but now that I'm retired from the national team,
okay.
At least I would know more of the schedule, the timeline that I'll have for summertime. But it is for sure a gratifying kind of experience that I'm definitely going to continue with it, and I do want to do it again. Now is just kind of figuring out people to help out with gyms and something with AC, because during the summertime it's pretty hot, and it's really where that's at right now. But
you've continued to kind of connect with kids that you can coach or mentor, or his dad Abel still. Orlando's not the only success story that Abel has helped. Abel has got, a track record of probably dozens of kids, if not probably more than dozens. It's probably in close to 100. I don't even know. He's just always stayed in touch with the youth in that community, and constantly has kids at the house, constantly has kids that he's helping get to practice. And so Orlando's also kind of taken up that role too when he's here to mentor.
That's what we do on your Instagram stories.
Yeah, so the 5 a.m. workouts that I have, those are part of my kids that come out and train with me. And
Tell me about that 5 a.m. workout. Explain that to me.
We usually do basketball individual workouts at 5 a.m.
Okay.
The gym's pretty much empty. We do it about almost 2 hours.
Okay.
Go back home, fix some breakfast, take Cora to swim practice, come back home, and then we go for a second session around 11.
You're doing 2 a days.
2 a days.
I love it.
2 a days.
I love it. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay, so to wrap this up, number one, I want to say thank you, and it's really, really cool to know the story of how you guys met, the handstands, you driving and hitting somebody on your first date, right? Like,
yeah.
I love you sharing that, and I think that'll be a great story for people to hear as they listen. Now what I want to do is ask you, because in the book, he basically talks about, there are 11 questions. This is Tim Ferriss, Tools of Titans, right? So Tribe of Mentors. The book is Tribe of Mentors. And he comes up with these questions, and they're all, just very different, right? But I like this question for both of you because you're both probably techie, right? You're probably techie people, right? So listen to this. What is the most most wild investment, something that you've done, the best investment that you've made in the last 6 months? Like, it has been the best investment, either time or money, that you've put in and had the biggest result.
I'll let you take that one first.
So for me, I started about a year ago, coming up in the fall, it would have been a year. I started for the first time really investing in sales training, and basically sales training and business coaching with Sandler. I don't know if you've heard of Sandler.
Very familiar. Yep.
So started with a local team here in San Antonio that does Sandler training. And it was a big, I think when you're a small agency, and it's for the longest time, it was just me, and we've only recently built out a team. Investing in your business always feels scary. But that for me kind of helped me see, we've talked about before, the E-myth of getting to the point where are you working on your business or in your business? And that was a moment for me where over the past, few months where I've really started to shift my focus from being all in the, client activity and just swarmed with putting out fires every day, or am I rising above that and helping my team be successful? And I'm the one handling, more of the long-term vision for the company. Because it's so easy to just every day survive versus figuring out how do I transition into that, next level role kind of thing.
No, I'm glad you said that because it's very interesting because so many people are afraid to be coached. But think of this perspective, the dynamic, right? Professional athlete. You've had coaches your entire life. And you might have a shooting coach. You might have a stretching coach. I would imagine on every team, there are different people that specialize, right? But the fact is you need a coach to get you to the next level. Yeah. But you have to have the desire. It has to start with you want to get better. Right. And I'm sure you agree with that, right? Like, if you don't want to get better, there's not a lot of coaching that's really going to help. You have to want to be better. And so that's awesome. I'm glad you're doing that because coaching pays off. What about you? Biggest investment?
I think it was taking the time and kind of researching, because you hear of all these, celebrities or athletes that do shows or join a certain team. And in exchange, they figure out different methods, either taking a percentage of equity of some sort, or going into business or partnership with something. I think for me was this last contract that I'm about to sign that involves something similar to that, where in exchange of liquid funds, it's kind of equity.
That's awesome.
So I think that would be my last 6 months. Besides that, I've just been a stay-at-home dad. So there's nothing much else going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, you're still getting your body ready.
Yeah.
I mean, you're still training.
Well,
you're still taking care of yourself.
Juicer. Talk about your juicer. That was
There's
an
two
investment.
small
Okay.
ones.
Okay.
You know, the little, the slow cook, slow
press.
slow press
right? Yeah.
juicers.
Cold press. You talking about the
Yes.
cold press?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You got into that.
I got into that.
Okay.
And, that's part of my routine now, my diet, and it's awesome.
Has it been a big game changer?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I think it gives me energy. It keeps me kind of going throughout my day, and at the same time, it keeps me at kind of a maintenance standpoint physically for what I do. And I think the second one would be the little gun. I don't know if you've ever seen the little guns for the massage guns.
Oh my gosh! I'm glad you
Theragun?
brought this up,
Theragun?
Christina.
Isn't that what
I
they're
want the
called?
Theragun. I need it.
That
Which one did you get?
The Vote? I don't know. It's the little silver black.
Yes.
The Hyper Vote.
Yes.
Hyper Vote.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's really cool. That one looks really cool.
And it's weighs less and it makes less noise because there's a couple other ones on the market that makes so much noise.
There's loud.
Yeah, and this one's been awesome.
So you can just do it yourself.
Yep.
See, I need to get one.
Yeah.
Christina, I'm getting the Theragun. That's it.
Yeah.
So you got the Volt though.
I did the Vote.
You did the
Hyper
Volt. And how long does the battery last? Is it a long battery?
Oh, there's days that I don't even charge it.
Oh, that's cool.
So I just have it in my backpack and I use it for a pre kind of workout and then a post workout as well.
That's cool. That's very, very cool. All right. Last but not least, what do you think in the last 5 years, a habit that you've changed that has drastically improved your life? It sounds like that cold press might be one, but what is a habit that you've changed in the last, 4 or 5 years that has improved your life?
What do you think? Our marriage life?
Yeah, let's do that. What about marriage? Yeah, let's do that. That's a good one. Yeah. Because how long have y'all been married now? Is it over 10, right?
9.
9 years. Okay.
Yeah, next year I'll be 10.
That's cool. Yeah.
Next year will be a big one.
Yep. Let's see, a habit. I think I used to. I'm actually reading Atomic Habits right now. Have you read that yet?
I have not. I've heard about it.
It is super good, and I think it teaches you how to not only implement good habits, but also break bad habits, and how to do both. Versus everybody has all the goals to build up great habits, but you also have to figure out how to break the bad ones. For me, one of my bad ones was always, it would drive Orlando nuts to have this one pile of clothes in this one spot in our room that I would just let gather there. And I have finally broken that habit and been better about putting things. I think in general, as you mature, creating a home space and being more disciplined in creating a space that feels calming, and you start your day on the right note, you run things and do things, all the #adulting kind of boring things is where I'm at now, trying to have all of that running
Love it
seamlessly, I think.
Yeah. Love it. All right, Orlando, what do you got?
Marriage wise or just in general?
It could be both, one or the other.
I just had it and I just lost it.
You are a creature of habit too, so you really thrive on same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think one would have to be clothes.
Okay.
Just wearing shorts and a t-shirt, because before I would want to dress a certain type of way every day, even if I was going to certain places. Yeah. And I think it just saves me so much time and it releases so much stress not having to deal with that. Yeah. I still get dressed up for different occasions and events, but in a daily day, I love just knowing I have black shorts and a t-shirt.
That's right.
I think that's been pretty big for me. Just not having to deal with all that.
I love it.
Kind of prioritizing different things, right?
Well, you're creating your Zuckerberg look, man. It's just
hey,
it's a
little different.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. If I could be in running shorts in a running shirt every day, I would totally do it. Totally do it. Ain't nothing wrong with it, right? Well, listen, I want to thank you both for being on TM3 Impact. Really appreciate your time. These are your coffee mugs to to showcase that you were here hanging out with TM3. thank you so much. When this podcast comes out, we may not be able to release it yet, obviously, from what was talked about. But when we do release it, I'd love for you guys to share this and tell everybody about what we talked about today. Thank you again. Appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For having me.
Take care, guys.